Hi everyone, I hope everything's going well on your side of the screen. So today we are looking at a speed build that I did of a Tudor cottage. It's on the 30 by 20 lot called Rustic Residence in Windenburg. And I want to start by saying I've never built anything in this style. I love the style. I've seen a lot of builds with the style, but I've never done it myself. So I struggle a while. I cut out quite a bit of it, but it's gonna take me a bit to get the upstairs figured out and the floor plan. And then this roofing in the front, I really wanted something kind of different, kind of whimsical. I built this the day before fairies came out, so the 9th, a little bit ago. And I think it turned out really good in the end. I do end up switching out the color swatches here. It'll be darker at the end, more of a black and white and gray. I do keep this stone at the bottom. I really like that stone. I think it's really nice. But it won't be as prevalent of the dark browns. So this is where I start kind of struggling with the roof and trying to figure out how I was going to make room for an upstairs, because I know I wanted at least one big bedroom downstairs and then one or maybe two bedrooms upstairs, maybe an office. So there was just a lot of work in trying to figure out how to make all of that fit here. So I do this bump out on the side and it's pretty small now. It's going to double in size and become a greenhouse. And I think that ends up being really cool. I was going to use glass walls and try to incorporate that, but it just didn't quite fit. I'm still trying to figure out how to use them in a way that they don't look so intense, because they are pretty intense. Also, I do see that little spandrel thingy floating. It will go away, I promise. So I get the roof figured out, and you have to move all these little pieces and make them separate so the roof isn't glitching and showing when you page down. Roofing is tricky. It takes a lot of individual separate pieces, and you have to clip them together at the exact right angle, or you can see it's it can be intense, but it's fun. It's a nice little challenge. I go through a lot of different windows. I'm using Get Together for the majority of this because it really fits the style that I wanted. But I did have to place a bunch of things down and be like, oh, okay, actually, that's not what I wanted. Let's do this instead. I do keep the glass roof on the top of the greenhouse. I think that's nice. And then I use these greenhouse haven windows with a couple of them open because it looks like they're letting air in, and I really like that. I also thought I was gonna use this rock or stone on the bottom floor here. I love it, but I don't actually end up using it. I don't think it fit the style quite as well as the other stone that we had before. And here I am. I decided, because the greenhouse haven windows are black, that I was gonna make all of the windows black to match. And so I do that. Oh, I don't keep the glass roof. Oh, I lied. I'm so sorry. This becomes a balcony, actually. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with the roof on the top of it. I tried a platform, but I was like, no, that's wasted space. I could be using that and making, more room upstairs. So that's what I did. So this greenhouse ends up being really big, and we end up with a nice area on top too for skill building. I don't remember exactly what I put out there, but I think it was a chess table, maybe an easel, and a telescope, but I might be wrong. So don't quote me on that. We will see. We'll find out together. I really like the fencing that came with Get Together. I don't think I've ever used it. Like I said, I've never really done this style before, so I guess that makes sense that I wouldn't have used it. But I really like it. I like that it's kind of chunky, and it looks like it ties the whole build together. And then I use this really pretty like scalloped roof texture. It's so cute. It looks like mermaid scales, but it also gives cottage energy. I added these bump outs on the top up here to kind of make the upstairs a little bit bigger and get more space, because it was difficult trying to fit everything in. but it ends up coming together and it ends up being probably one of my favorite builds I've ever done so far. I'm still pretty new to building. Most of the time, I prefer to find something off the gallery and I'll either download it with no furnishing and furnish it myself, or I'll find shells that it's already built and I just have to do like the furnishing, the landscape, and that kind of stuff. I don't really have as much time as I would like to sit down and do full builds, otherwise I would, but I am making the most of my summer break, somewhat break. I'm in only one college class right now, but using all that extra time to record as much content as possible to backlog so that in the future I have stuff to post even when I'm doing 4 classes the next 2 semesters before I graduate. So we're locking in now. But back to the build. So we're now inside the kitchen, and I really like how it wraps around. I don't think I've ever done anything in this way either, but there was a lot that I wanted to fit, and I think I did a good job achieving that. I changed out the cabinets to be these, and I was so glad that the curtain on them is black and matches, because sometimes they're a color that is not in the color palette that you had wanted to do. So I was glad to see that it actually matched. And I use a lot of stuff from the kitchen clutter kit, like a lot, probably all of it. It's just so good. Like it looks so good. Like I custom place these 4 little like storage containers on this counter, and they look like they're perfectly slotted into the cabinet. I'm about to do it. I'm placing a bunch of other stuff first. Yeah, these, they look so cute. Like that looks so realistic. I would definitely have something like that in my own home. I do have these clear containers, but they're hidden away in the cabinets, unfortunately. They're not on display. They should be. They deserve to be. There's just not space to be. But I go all out with the clutter in here. I just feel like a cluttered kitchen looks the best. I've never been one for like minimalistic style. I kind of like it to look a lot. I've got 2 other builds that I've done. I did one on stream the past couple nights and did like a fairy house build for my fairy let's play household. And then I also recently did a pink house build for my 10 generation legacy challenge, and I'm on the 10th generation. So it's like one of the heirs is moving out finally, and she's raising her own kids, even though she helped her brother raise his kids. Very cute, very legacy energy. But she's a streamer, and she had like a pink basement at her brother's house. So now she's getting an all pink house. So I recorded that video. I just have to do the voiceover for it. It took a little bit of time getting comfortable talking to myself in a room. Like live streaming helped a lot. I think that's helped me get used to it more because it's multiple hours in a row that you're having to talk out loud. And I stream pretty late, so far there's not been a whole lot of talking in the chat. So it's just me talking to myself, which I can do for a while, but it's given me good practice for videos. I love this flooring. I use this flooring in pretty much every build that I do because I just really, really like it. It has a good texture. And I like all the black shades and the brown shades. I think they blend together really well, which is something you kind of just have to deal with in The Sims, that you're not always going to find shade matches. So if you can match tones, then you'll usually be more successful. I get hung up on the little stuff that it's, oh, it's not the exact same color, and I gotta let that go because it's The Sims. We're never gonna have the exact right color. So I've finished the kitchen and the little dining area. Now we're in the living room. And it's really simple, basic, I think. But I like I said, the darks, the browns, the blacks with the white walls. I layered 2 different rugs here to make it fit the space better, and I think that looks really good. I don't think I've done that before. I tried a lot of new stuff. as I've started making Sims content, I've decided that I want to challenge myself and do it in a way that I wouldn't usually. I mean, I've got people watching, so it's time to be different and to be interesting and do the new things. So, it's been fun. It's a nice challenge that I've given myself, and I've now got a creative outlet which I so needed when I'm balancing school and being a mom. Like, I needed this. I needed something for myself. So, I'm glad I've started doing it again. But anyways, we're moving on to the bedroom. I I didn't there wasn't a lot that I wanted to do in here because there's not a lot of room. I wanted to try to fit a dresser and a mirror, but I didn't add anything else just because I didn't want it to be non-functional. So, just the basics, but still cute, still decorated. Like I get a bookshelf in here and I add a little bit of clutter, I believe, on top of the dresser. I like this. I actually made one of those little like potted plant fake plants for my mom for Mother's Day in like elementary school. So I end up using that in like every family home build just because it's so realistic. Like I literally made that. This build unfortunately uses probably an ungodly amount of packs. I am one of the probably rare people that has every single pack, and I have bought every single pack with my own money. There's not a single one that I don't own. It's a problem. I'm just a collector at this point. Like, I don't care about Star Wars, and I bought the Star Wars pack before even learning that they had such good flooring or a couple good plants. And I actually like some of their lights too, but that's not the point. I bought it knowing that I would never use it, but I just did not want to see that empty space in my collection. So we have now moved upstairs and are working on the bathrooms. We're gonna have this hall one and then an ensuite to the kids' room. The hall one's got the black and white color scheme like the rest of the house, but then the ensuite to the kids' room is pink and it's super cute. It matches the bedroom, and I always like when I can do all pink anything. I mean, I literally just did an all pink house build, and I think that just comes from a deep love of pink. I literally built my gaming setup around the idea that I wanted it to be a pink and black color scheme. And that's kind of the idea that I'm trying to get across on all my socials and my Twitch. So now we are working on the office, and I've got a computer and an easel, and I put more skill building stuff outside on this balcony, like this woodworking table, this chess table, and a telescope. So there is a way for your Sims to die here if you so need that. I try to put at least one way on every lot that I build because I think it just makes it more fun. I also add mats on all the outdoor doors, and while I'm back here, I decide to just go ahead and knock out this patio before I forget because I am prone to. So I add these two benches and then these little blue flowers from Get Together. I really like them. I think they're cute. I don't think I've ever used them, so it was fun to get to incorporate new stuff. I also did so much clutter in this greenhouse. I would now update it with the live plants from, or the live house plants from the fairies pack, but I built this the day before fairies came out, so I did not have access to that yet. I instead used a lot of items from the Greenhouse Haven kit and the base game and possibly the seasons pack. I'm not 100% sure. There might be one or two items from there. But I think with all of those combined, it looks good and realistic and cluttered. I may have taken the cluttering too far because there's not really a whole lot of room for plants, but that's okay. There's room outside for plants. There will actually be like a very large garden for plants off to the side. Although it already looks incredibly cluttered, I will in fact be adding more plant clutter to this area, both with this hanging plant and then this cool little vase plant thing and then the little herbs. It just all fits together so well. So now I move upstairs and I finish off this little hallway and fix the wallpaper that had gotten messed up and just hang some paintings, and I eventually add a rug and call it good. It doesn't really need much else. This room I envisioned was a teen girl or maybe a preteen girl because I didn't add any children's toys, but there is a desk with like a makeshift vanity and a nice dresser. I had considered at one point putting a second bed in here, but realized I was not going to have enough space to, so I used a dresser instead. I also put two rugs. I know it's kind of weird, but the space is an odd shape, so I felt like it needed it. Also, this businesses and hobbies wallpaper mixed with the cozy bistro paired so well, and it gave it like a nice accent wall above the bed, and I really like that. So, one thing about when I'm decorating is I don't really like bare spaces. It seems empty or unfinished to me. So, I have to have something like on every wall, even if it's the tiny corner walls. So, that may not necessarily be your style, but I have to. So, I do like this love struck heart on this wall, and then these are from the Cozy Kitsch kit. And then, oh, I don't know what those are that I switched them to. Backyard kit, maybe. And then base game and dream home decorator. That's a lot of packs just in one room. Jeez. I do intend to do an all base game build. I hate to say it, but I used to be a hater of the base game. I thought it was so difficult to build with that I honestly would just stay away from all the items from it. But to be fair, I was also basing my opinion off how bad the base game hairs are. So I had a bit of a bias. But I think they've come a long way with the updates that they've done. And it does make the base game itself more playable. And there's actually some items that I really love and use now, like the kitchen counters. Those are really, really nice. I like those a lot. But anyways, let's get back to the build a little bit. I'm switching out the rug out here for a yoga mat, so there's even more skill building. And I put a plant, which is essentially all right, you're done. There's a plant. And I do the same in here. I put another plant, some decor on the wall. Oh, I have to put that mat anytime I do an easel. It just seems more realistic to have something there to cover the rug. That way I can still have the rug too. Okay, so let me tell you what's going on here. I forgot that I have the Better Build by mod, and so I was searching for debug and I couldn't find it after using cheats. So I was going onto the gallery and finding debug landscape, but it wasn't working because usually you can like shift click and copy and paste, but you can't with debug. Anyways, so I was just using, the regular stuff you see in the menu here. So it was a little bit limiting and it was a little bit difficult for me to do it. I since realized last night while doing a fairy house, I came across the tab for live edit and debug that comes with the mod and felt very dumb. At least now I know. Anyways, I'm now putting in that side garden that I was talking about that makes up for the fact that the greenhouse is pretty small. I have four little garden patches on each side, and then a pretty little path that goes through and loops around. And then on the other side, I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to put there? And I settled on a pond. And I think the pond actually turns out pretty good. It's kind of weird, but I think it fits. And also, can we take a second to look at that path? That is literally the best path I have ever drawn, and no one can tell me otherwise. It's so good. I tried to like layer the different terrain paints as well. Like I go through and I use like a dirt one to kind of define the outside. But here I am kind of framing out where I wanted stuff to go and really just adding in random stuff until it looked right. I have no other way to explain that. I went off vibes alone, especially just with placement. I'm not the best at landscape. It doesn't come easy to me, but I think this looks really good. It had the ability to be more overgrown, and I think that's what's made it successful. I also add children's monkey bars out here, which in hindsight, if there's not a kid, is probably not necessary. So you might either want to add children's toys so that there is that in the kids' room, or so that they have that for kids, or delete the monkey bars because you probably won't need them. But here I am making the pond, and I have this little sitting area under the tree with a bird bath. I thought that was so cute and so peaceful. So I'm adding water to the pond to kind of see where it's gonna land so I can fix the shape a little bit. And I wanted to put rocks around it, but remember I was having that issue with debug where I couldn't see that stuff. So I ended up doing plants instead and just like a mixture with terrain paint. And I think that it still turned out really well. I add more flowers, like a bunch more. I just shift click and copy and pasted them until it looked filled in and looked finished. There was really no rhyme or reason to it. And I found rocks, yeah, from the gallery because I had no debug access. I couldn't find them, so I used those just around to be decorative, but not to completely cover because they were from the gallery. You can't shift click and copy paste or whatever, and that made it super difficult. So instead of individually placing all those that I got from the gallery, I decided to just do plants and do the rocks as accents. And I don't think it suffered from it. I still think it looks really good. I added this fountain in the middle from Love Struck, and then this cute little frog fountain in the back. It's so cute. And I add this little log to make it look kind of old and moggy, and I think it's good. And then of course this cute little swing set in the back, which is good for teens or adults. And then we add a couple trees to make it look better on the gallery photo, and that's pretty much it. Thanks for taking the time to watch. If you want to find this build, it's on the gallery at livinasimworld, and I'll put that in the description. But enjoy the screenshots. Bye everybody.